Geometry factoring, the finale, part 3. So now we are factoring a trinomial, a 3-part polynomial with a leading coefficient greater than 1. So that number that we talked about on the last clip, I have that number in the front again. My leading coefficient is the first big number in the front. All right, and I said that you want to look for something that they all have in common. But my numbers are 2, 3, and 9. They don't have anything in common bigger than the number 1. So that's not going to work here. What I need to do, and I've written out these steps. They are up on the wall back there. I will send a picture to you guys. But step 1, I want to multiply the first and the last. So I want to multiply 2 by -9. Just the numbers will work. 2 times -9. But make sure you take the sign with it. What is 2 times -9? -18, yes. So I will write that -18, and this becomes my number on the top. This is my top number. Now I'm back to the AM, back to the morning. I want to find the numbers that it's still adding to the middle. That does not change. But now I'm not multiplying to the last anymore. I'm multiplying to the top. What numbers are going to multiply to -18 but add up to +3? And I still do the same thing with my x's in the front because x was my variable. Again, think about it. The numbers that multiply to -18 but add to +3. And I gave you a tip on the last video. I said the bigger number will be the same as the middle sign. So I know that my two numbers, whichever number is bigger, is going to be positive. All right? The numbers are, hopefully you thought of them by now, but they are a 6 and a -3. A +6 times a -3 will multiply to a -18, but if I add them up, a 6 plus a -3, again, adding a negative is like subtracting, so 6 plus -3 would leave me with just 3, and that's my middle number. These are the only two numbers that work. All right? I am not done though. It gets more complicated when I have a number in the front. So step 3, I want to divide each number by my leading coefficient. Again, that's the big number in the front, and that number was 2. So I'm not always dividing by 2, it's just whatever number happens to be in front, that's what you want to divide your numbers by. So I will divide each number by 2 in this case. All right, I want to simplify. Okay, if it does simplify, then I let it. 6 divided by 2 turns into a pretty whole number. 6 divided by 2 is the number 3. Right? If it does not simplify, I want to fling, and no, that's not the proper math term, but that's what we're going to do. I want to fling that bottom number to the front. Okay? So that 2, because it did not simplify, 3 over 2 doesn't turn into a whole number, I'm going to fling that 2 to the front. So I have my 2, and then I still have my x minus 3. And that is my final answer. This is my factored form. All right? Let's try that again. So again, I gave you another situation where these 3 numbers don't have anything in common. So my first step was to multiply the first and the last. So I'm going to multiply the 3 times the 8. All right, 3 times 8 gives me 24. So this is my number on top. All right, so I'm on to step 2 now. I want to find the numbers that add to the middle still, but now multiply to the top. So I need to know what numbers, I still have my x and my x, what numbers are going to multiply to a +24 but add to a -14. Again, remember that tip, that whatever the middle sign was, that's what my bigger one is going to be. Okay, they multiply to 24, add to -14. Anyone? Okay, again, and if it is positive, up here, the number that I'm multiplying to is a +24, which means that it needs to be the same sign. It needs to be the same sign. And I told you that the bigger number was negative, but if it's positive up here, they're both negative. The numbers are -12 and -2. Right? -12 times -2 will multiply to +24, but -12 plus a -2 will be farther in the negative, so that would give me a -14. All right, so that was step 2, to come up with the numbers that added to the middle and multiplied to the top. But remember, I was not done. I'm on to step 3, where I need to divide by the leading coefficient. And this time my leading coefficient is the number 3. So I will divide each number by 3. If it turns into something pretty, if it turns into a whole number, I let it. 12 divided by 3 is a whole 4, right? If it does not, I want to take that denominator and fling it to the front. So because 2/3 is not a whole number, I'm going to fling that 3 to the front, and I still have my x minus 2. X minus 2. That is my factored form. Number 3. All right, one more time. Step 1, I want to multiply the first and the last. So 9 times 25. Ooh, I gave you big numbers. Is there anything that comes out of 9, 30, and 25? You know, 3 goes into 9, 3 goes into 30. Not 25. No, there's nothing that comes out of all 3 of them. So let's do it. All right, so my 9 times 25. Do y'all have your calculators out there? That'll give you 225. So I need the numbers that are going to AM, like in the morning. They're going to add to the middle number, which is 30, and multiply to 225. All right. These two numbers, for the sake of time, I'm just going to tell you are, what are they? 15 and 15. 15 and 15. 15 times 15 is 225, but 15 plus 15 is 30. All right, but I'm not done. I have to divide by the leading coefficient, which in this case is the number 9. So I will divide each of them by 9. All right, they do not turn into a pretty whole number, but they do reduce. I can reduce this fraction because both 15 and 9 are divisible by 3, right? 3 goes into 15 5 times, 3 goes into 9 3 times. So these both turn into 5/3. And 5/3 is not pretty. So when I still have a fraction, I want to fling. So my final answer will be 3. We'll fling that 3, and I'll still have my x plus 5. 3x plus 5 times another 3x plus 5. Or we could write 3x plus 5 squared. Either way. All right. So now you should be prepared to do your VLA assignment number 1 in USA Test Prep. I'll see y'all tomorrow.